adding rational numbers with fractions. The first thing that you need to do is get a common denominator. So step 1, get the least common denominator. Step 2, you need to get equivalent fractions. After you have equivalent fractions, you're going to add or subtract. And then, if necessary, Taibou and simplify. Okay, these are the rules for fractions. Now, don't forget we have our integer rules too. Same signs, add, keep the sign. Different sign, subtract, keep the higher absolute value. So let's look at this example. Number 1, 3 1/4 plus negative 1 1/2. This is different sign, subtract. And we're going to keep the higher absolute value. So 3 is bigger than 1, so we know it's going to be positive at the end. So we're going to say 3 1/4 minus 1 1/2. So first thing is to put the denominators in a ladder, get a common denominator. 2 can go into 2 once, 2 can go into 4 twice. I did the puffy L, multiply everything inside the L. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so we've done the first step of fractions of getting the lowest or the least common denominator. Step 2 is equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 4 times what will get me 4? 4 times 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times what will get me 4? 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. Alright, I can't do 1 minus 2, so I'm going to have to regroup. I'm going to borrow from the 3, make it 2. And I'm going to add 4 fours plus 1/4, which will make this 5 fours. 5 fours minus 2 fours is 3 fours. 2 minus 1 is 1. And this is going to be positive. Okay, let's take a look at number 2. Okay, on number 2, negative 1/12 plus negative 3 3/8. Same signs, add, keep the sign. So we're going to do 3 3/8 plus 1/12. So step 1, get a common denominator. So we're going to go by 2. Go again by 2. Can't go any farther, so we multiply everything. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. My lowest common denominator is 24. Step 2 is equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions say whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 8 times 3 is 24, so 3 times 3 is 9. 12 times 2, so 1 times 2 is 2. 9 24s plus 2 24s is 11 24s. Then I bring down the 3. I keep the sign, so it is negative. Let's take a look at number 3. This is different signs, subtract. Keep the higher absolute value. Negative 3/4 is the higher absolute value, so the answer will be negative. We're going to say 3/4 minus 1/5. There's nothing that can go into 4 and 5, so the lowest common denominator is 4 times 5, which is 20. Okay, step 2, equivalent fractions. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So 4 times 5 is 20, so 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20, so 1 times 4 is 4. 15 twentieths minus 4 twentieths is 11 twentieths. And remember, negative 3/4 has the higher absolute value, so it's a negative 11 twentieths. All right, let's take a look at number 4. This is different sign subtract. We're going to keep the higher absolute value. This is the higher absolute value, so the answer is going to be positive. We're going to say 8 3/5 minus 1/9. So we try to see if anything can go into 5 and 9. It can't, so the lowest common denominator is just multiplying 5 and 9. 5 and 9 is 45. So now we're going to do equivalent fractions. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 5 times 9 is 49. So 3 times 9 is 27. 9 times 5 is 45. So 1 times 5 is 5. 27 minus 5 is 22. 45ths. And I bring down the 8. It's going to be positive. All right, last one. Teresa is determining 1/4 plus 3/5. Find her mistake and correct it. Okay, so when we do 1/4 plus 3/5, we have to get a common denominator. Nothing can go into 4 and 5, so you multiply them together, you get 20. Now equivalent fractions say whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 4 times 5 is 20. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20, so 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 5 is 17. Okay, so what Teresa did was she added the numerators and added the denominators. So Teresa did not find a common denominator. Then equivalent fractions to add. Okay,